Stardust, Chapter 26, Part 2. Update: 12:10 p.m., May 8th, 2015. The first testing of Gabe Logue is complete, and the results were unanticipated. We may have unintentionally created a far more effective weapon due to a programming error, but before those unanticipated results can be shared, some explanation is required to describe just where the programming error occurred and how it altered the weapon. There were initially some valid concerns regarding power consumption if the projectile's dimensions weren't described in the initial programming, so some last-minute changes were made before the first test. The intended projectile dimensions were that of a cylinder, 2 inches long with a half-inch diameter. Once the modifications were made, we test-fired the weapon. The anticipated result was that the copper slug would penetrate several prefabricated cement walls, so we could gauge the degree of penetration as well as the amount of power needed for consistent results. What actually occurred was that a half-inch diameter hole was punched out of every one of the walls between the weapon at the ending point of 1,000 meters away before the copper slug left the weapon. And when I say punched, I mean literally. 6 walls were installed for the test and placed at 2-foot intervals perpendicularly, and 6 half-inch diameter cement cylinders were found scattered at the end of the firing range along with a copper slug. High-speed cameras show that all 6 walls were perforated at the exact moment of activation, and the 6 cement cylinders could be seen flying out of their respective points of origin. The source of this error was in the programming. The intent was to program the specifics of the projectile being shot, and the diameter was set correctly. However, the length was for whatever reason set as the same range as the distance and destination, and the end result was that everything in a half-inch diameter cylinder 1 kilometer long was pushed to 1 kilometer away from the weapon instantly. Thus far, the only downside was the staggering power requirement for the shot. The one shot caused our salvage Elerium generator to burn out, which will unfortunately curtail any further testing until EA is fully operational. The following are the future plans for the Gabe Logue project, including current issues with the system, future development plans, and other miscellaneous information. 1. Use of solid projectiles is scrapped for Gabe Logue, as the current system has proven far more effective without them. A. Specialty munitions launched with a similar system will be explored with the Excalibur project. 2. Range-finding equipment will be developed and integrated into the firing mechanism, as the current theory is that the power supply was burned due to the range and degree of penetration in the initial test. If the attack range can be restrained to something like target range plus 1.5 meters, the penetrating power can still be useful while not destroying energy supplies. 3. Recording devices were able to calculate the amount of heat generated in the circuits by the shot, and we have reached the conclusion that the safest sustained rate of fire is 40 RPM, which makes it unsuitable for the role of light machine gun, but satisfactory for other roles. A. Rapid-fire rates could be pushed to nearly 400 RPM, but the estimates show the gun would burn out after 6 seconds of sustained firing. The option for burst fire is there, but full auto may have to be scrapped. 4. Due to the exceedingly strong performance of the initial test shot, I recommend halting production on all laser weaponry other than the multi-lasers. The multi-lasers, or heavy lasers as other engineers call them, can maintain the rates of fire that the Gabe Logue system cannot without the heating issues, so production will continue until such a time that the heat issues come under control. 5. As the weapon affects all points of origin to destination instantly and the unique nature of the damage it does, it is felt that this world would make an excellent counterpart to the Fragarack weapon system currently in development for interceptors. While the Fragarack is capable of delivering explosive ordnance instantly to a target, Gabe Logue can deliver damage the moment the trigger is pulled rather than having to worry about a lengthy warm-up time. A. Even though Gabe Logue does relatively little damage, a hull puncture produced by the weapon would render the small invader ships incapable of returning to space, as the smaller ships do not have the internal bulkheads and airlocks to prevent decompression. It is unknown just how effective their energy door technology is, and if they conceal breaches of this nature, so we'll just have to hope for the best and be sure to analyze every bit of information the interceptors get us while in the field. Once the first batch of these weapons are completed and provided to the strike teams, we'll finally be able to more effectively counter some of the heavier aliens that are being fielded against us, as well as the new mechanized units. One thing does have me concerned though. Stardust has confirmed that Elerium reacts in various ways when it comes in contact with exotic forms of energy. The cyberdisk wrecks we found had a significant amount of Elerium circuitry of their own. What will happen next when the telekinetic effect of our weapons connects with the Elerium circuitry of the cyberdisks? I'd be excited for the answer if only our boys didn't have to get in harm's way to get it. End log. Project ID, Excalibur. Type, Infantry Weapon System. Role, Shotgun and Grenade Launcher. Description, Specialized Projectile Weapon System using EC Telekinesis. New record, 8 AM, May 9th, 2015. Excalibur was originally a secondary project to Gabe Logue, but recent changes in the nature of that project necessitated the split. The theory for the Excalibur weapon system is still sound. A projectile launched with EC telekinesis will penetrate all forms of resistance, so long as the power source for EC is maintained. The projectile under its effects will also resist, as far as we are able to determine at this time, all damage and spalling that results from impacts with objects. As a result, we feel that we can create infantry portable breaching weapons capable of penetrating the walls of structures, or even hulls of the alien ships with little to no risk to the soldiers. As the first test of the Gabe Logue weapon taught us, a rangefinder will be essential for the proper operation of the weapon without burning the energy supplies. To penetrate barriers, the range portion of the EC would be set to the target range 2+ meters to ensure adequate penetration into the target area, though testing may see that number being adjusted. Another use for the rangefinder may be for the opposite. As projectiles are held in their launch state until the EC telekinesis is removed, our engineers theorized that we could create a sabot projectile containing flechets or ball bearings. The moment the EC effect dissipates, the sabot would deploy and disperse the payload. I suggested the payload of the projectile be comprised of the alien alloys that we recover from the alien ships, as their durability would make them extremely destructive when moving at sufficient velocities. The main reason we haven't used alien alloys for projectiles in the past is specifically because of the durability. They would often destroy the barrels of test weapons we produce to launch them. Designs are already on the drawing board for their initial Excalibur prototypes and their projectiles, but we won't be able to test it until the EA project is complete. End log. Project ID, ROIAS. Type, Infantry Equipment. Role, Personal Defense. Description, Modular Shield System using EC Shield. New record, 9:52 AM, May 9th, 2015. The ROIAS system is something that we hope will dramatically increase the survivability of our troops in the field. The initial research material describes a barrier created with the exotic energy source created by the EA project that can interdict various hostile or harmful attacks. It is uncertain as to the exact nature of hostile or harmful attacks, as we cannot test yet, but the research materials seem to indicate that projectiles and harmful amounts of energy, like lasers or plasma in theory, would be blocked. The initial EC design was of a dome shield around the point of origin that would protect from every direction, but modifications have been planned to turn this into a directional shield to conserve energy as well as enhance the durability of the shield itself. Prevailing theory is that if all the energy is concentrated into a forwarding-facing shield rather than dispersed into a dome, it can block more incoming fire. The other engineers are a bit stymied as to just how ROIAS will block the incoming projectiles, or even if it can. After all, bullets, lasers, and plasma, and now Gabe Logue, all operate under radically different rules for how they deliver harm to their targets. I do have faith that the final product will work as intended though, and the expert working with Stardust is quite thorough, and I suspect that she would have put the most work into this particular development to save lives. Designs for the ROIAS are mainly forearm mounted, and if the EC code is programmed correctly, it will produce a shield approximately 5 feet tall and 3 feet wide. The size may change once the power draw is measured. As to the appearance and opacity of the shield, we can only speculate, as we will need to wait for the EA project to produce batteries before testing may begin. Update, 10:12 AM, May 9th, 2015. Further analysis may have unraveled the strength and limitation of ROIAS when it comes to what it stops exactly. The shield portion of the EC diagram has 7 distinct parts. These parts describe just what is protected by the ROIAS system. The parts include kinetic, temperature extremes, heat and cold separately, as well as several effects that are produced by EC devices. Kinetic damage as well as heat extremes pretty well covers anything our troops could theoretically encounter in the field, but it seems the Stardust specialist is being very thorough. I don't think we'll have to worry about forceful transformation or discord, but it's nice to know that she's thought of everything. End log. Project ID, Medusa. Type, Scope Enhancement. Role, Target Acquisition. Description, Scope upgrade for target acquisition in low, no visibility conditions using EC X-ray. New record, 11:10 AM, May 9th, 2015. Medusa is likely going to be the simplest of the projects to come from Gate of Babylon. One of the EC diagrams provided by Stardust was for an effect that can be best described as X-ray, the ability to see through solid matter to parts beyond. The EC pattern is quite easy to interpret and allows for inputs for zoom and an easy output for any electronic display. I imagine when this is combined with the planned sniper variant of the Gabe-Logue weapon system, it will be a rather fearsome combination. Unfortunately, like most of the other projects, it depends on EA's completion, so no further developments can be made until an adequate power supply can be secured. End log.